Have you ever walked into a room and felt a strange heaviness, like the air itself was pressing down on you? Maybe you've noticed that some days, no matter how hard you try, everything feels stuck, like you're wading through mud. It's a feeling a lot of us know, but we don't always stop to ask why. Today, we're diving into something that might just shift the way you see your space and your energy. The idea that the images you surround yourself with, like photos or artwork of sad or lonely people, can subtly pull in depression, negative vibes, and even a kind of spiritual darkness. It sounds intense, I know, but stick with me. This isn't about fear. It is about understanding how your environment shapes your spirit, and how you can take control to create a life that feels lighter, brighter, and more aligned with who you want to be. Why does this matter? Because your home isn't just a place to crash. It is a reflection of your inner world. The things you hang on your walls, the objects you keep close, they're not just decorations. They carry energy. They tell a story. And sometimes, without realizing it, we invite energies into our space that weigh us down. Think about it. You wouldn't keep a plant that's wilting and dead in your living room, right? It'd make the whole place feel off. The same goes for the images you choose to live with. They're like silent roommates, constantly sending out vibes, whether you notice or not. So let's talk about how to make your space a sanctuary, a place that lifts you up instead of pulling you into a funk. Before we dive deeper, I want to hear from you. In the comments, share this Buddhist-inspired thought. Let go of what dims your light and invite what helps it shine. And if you stay until the end of this video, I promise you'll walk away with practical, easy-to-apply ideas to transform your space and your energy, ideas that could spark a real shift in how you feel every day. Now let's start with a story. A friend of mine, let's call her Maya, had this old black and white photo on her bedroom wall. It was of a woman sitting alone by a window, her face full of sorrow. Maya loved the artistry of it, the moody lighting, the vintage feel. But over time, she noticed she'd wake up feeling heavy, like she was carrying someone else's sadness. She didn't connect it to the photo at first. I mean, who does? We don't usually think, oh, that picture is messing with my vibe. But one day she decided to take it down and replace it with a bright painting of a sunflower field. The difference was night and day. Her room felt lighter, and she started waking up with a little more pep in her step. It wasn't magic, it was energy. This idea isn't new. In many spiritual traditions like Buddhism or ancient Eastern practices, there's this understanding that everything around us carries a vibration. A lonely figure in a painting isn't just a pretty image. It is a story of isolation, and that story can seep into your space. It's like listening to a sad song on repeat. After a while, it starts to color your mood. In Buddhism, they talk about samsara, the cycle of suffering we get caught in when we hold on to things that don't serve us. Keeping images of sadness or loneliness around can be like anchoring yourself to that cycle without even knowing it. Now, I'm not saying you need to toss out every piece of art that isn't a smiling face or a rainbow. Art is powerful, and sometimes we connect with deeper emotions through it. One way to get a sense of this is to pay attention to the stories your walls are telling. A picture of a lone figure staring into the distance might be beautiful, but if it's the first thing you see when you wake up, it's subtly whispering loneliness into your day. Compare that to, say, a photo of a vibrant festival or a serene mountain landscape. Those images tell stories of connection, peace, or possibility. They're like little nudges from the universe, reminding you of what's possible. And the cool thing is, you don't need to be an expert in spirituality to feel the difference. You just need to trust your gut. Here's a quick tip you can try today. Do a little scan of your space. Walk around and look at the images on your walls, your shelves, even your phone background. Ask yourself, what's the story this is telling me? If it's a story of struggle or sadness, maybe it's time to swap it out for something that feels like a better chapter. You don't have to go full minimalist or redecorate your whole house. Just start with one thing. Maybe it's a photo that reminds you of a tough time. Replace it with something that makes you smile. A picture of a loved one, a place you dream of visiting, or even a piece of art you create yourself. And speaking of creating, there's something really powerful about bringing your own energy into your space. In many Eastern traditions, they talk about intention as a force that shapes reality. When you choose or create an image with intention, say a drawing of something that inspires you, You're not just decorating. You're setting a tone for your life. It's like planting a seed for the kind of energy you want to grow. And the best part, you don't need to be an artist to do this. Grab some paper, doodle something that feels joyful, and stick it on your fridge. It's a small act, but it's like telling the universe, this is the vibe I'm choosing today. This brings us to another layer of this conversation, something that ties into why these choices matter so much. It is not just about the images themselves, it is about what they read doing to your mind and spirit over time. You see, our brains are wired to pick up on patterns. If you're constantly surrounded by images of sadness or struggle, your mind starts to normalize those feelings. It's like training yourself to expect heaviness. But when you fill your space with images of joy, connection, or peace, you're training your mind to lean into those vibes instead. It's a subtle shift, but it's powerful. And you know what's even more fascinating? This idea of energy in our spaces isn't just some woo-woo concept. It is backed by how our brains work. Psychologists talk about priming, where the things we see and hear influence our thoughts and emotions without us even realizing it. A picture of a lonely figure might prime you to feel isolated, even if you're not consciously thinking about it. On the flip side, an image of a sunrise or a laughing group of friends can prime you for hope and connection. It's like your brain is taking cues from your environment, saying, okay, this is the mood we're going for today. So, as we move forward, think about this. Your space is like a canvas for your life. Every image, every object is a brushstroke. What kind of picture are you painting? Are you creating a space that feels like a warm hug, or one that's dragging you down? The good news is you get to choose. You don't need a big budget or a fancy interior designer. You just need a little awareness and a willingness to make small intentional changes. And that is what we are going to dive into next. Some practical ways to shift the energy in your space and in turn, shift the energy in your life. Because when you start making these changes, you'll be amazed at how much lighter you feel. So, you'll be started to notice the energy in your space, how the images on your walls might be quietly shaping your mood. That's huge. Just pausing to see your environment with fresh eyes is like waking up to a whole new layer of your life. Now let's take it a step further and talk about why certain images, especially those of sad or lonely people, can feel like they're pulling you into a spiral of heavy vibes. It is not about being superstitious or overly mystical. It is about understanding how your surroundings talk to your soul in ways you might not even notice at first. Picture this. You're sitting in your living room, maybe sipping some tea, and your eyes keep drifting to a painting of a solitary figure staring out into a stormy sea. It's dramatic, it's beautiful, but every time you look at it, there's this tiny tug at your heart. You might not even realize it's happening, but that image is whispering a story of isolation, of struggle. Over time, those whispers add up. It's like living with a constant background hum of sadness. In spiritual traditions like Buddhism, they talk about how everything in our environment is interconnected with our inner state. The stuff you surround yourself with isn't just stuff. It is part of the web that holds your energy together. Let me share a quick example. I once knew someone, let's call him Alex, who had this old family photo on his desk. It was from a time when things were rough. Everyone in the picture looked tense, distant. He kept it there because it felt meaningful, like a tie to his past. But every time he sat down to work, he'd feel this unexplainable drag, like he couldn't focus. One day, on a whim, he swapped it out for a goofy photo of him and his dog at the beach. The change was wild. He said it was like the room started smiling at him. His work days felt lighter, and he even started laughing more. It wasn't just the photo. It was what it represented, the energy it brought into his space. This ties into something deeper, something you'll find in a lot of Eastern philosophies. There's this idea that everything carries an intention, a kind of invisible thread that connects the physical to the spiritual. In practices like feng shui, for example, they super specific about how objects in your space can either block or flow energy, called qi. A picture of someone looking lost or broken? That's like putting a dam in the flow of your qi. It stops the good vibes from moving freely. Now, I'm not saying you need to become a feng shui master overnight, but the principle is simple. Your space should feel like it's working with you, not against you. Here's something you can try right now. No fancy tools needed. Walk into the room where you spend the most time. Maybe it's your bedroom, your office, or even your kitchen. Close your eyes for a second, take a deep breath, and then open them. What's the first thing you see? How does it make you feel? If it is an image that pulls you toward heaviness, like a painting of a lone figure or a photo from a tough time, consider moving it somewhere else. You don't have to throw it out. Maybe it goes in a drawer, or you save it for a different space where it won't be the main vibe. Then replace it with something that feels like a burst of light. It could be a postcard from a trip you loved, a drawing your kid made, or even a cheap print of a sunny landscape you grabbed online. The point is to choose something that feels like you at your best. And here is where it gets really fun. You don't have to stop at images. This idea of energy applies to everything in your space. Think about the objects you keep around. That old chipped mug from an ex might be just a mug, but every time you use it, it's like sipping on a tiny memory of a time you'd rather forget. Compare that to using a mug that's bright, colorful, or one you picked out because it made you smile. It's a small shift, but it's like choosing to start your day with a high five instead of a sigh. In Buddhism, they call this mindful action, being intentional about the little choices that shape your world. Now, let us flip this for a second and talk about what to add to your space to lift the energy. You don't need to go full-on spiritual guru here, but there's something powerful about bringing in elements that feel alive and connected. In many cultures, images of nature, like forests, rivers, or mountains, are seen as natural energy boosters. Why? Because they remind us of growth, of movement, of life itself. If you've ever felt calmer just looking at a photo of a beach or a forest, that's not random. Your brain is wired to respond to nature's energy, to feel grounded and hopeful in its presence. So, if you're looking for a quick way to shift your space, try adding a picture of a place in nature that makes your heart sing. It's like opening a window to let fresh air into your soul. Another thing to consider is color. You don't need to be an artist to know that colors carry vibes. Dark, muted tones can feel heavy, like a rainy day that never ends. Bright, warm colors like yellows, greens, or soft blues can feel like a sunny morning. In spiritual practices, colors are often tied to different energies. For example, in Tibetan Buddhism, they use vibrant colors in mandalas to represent balance and harmony. You can borrow that idea without getting too complicated. Maybe swap out that gray, moody painting for something with a pop of color that makes you feel alive. It is not about redecorating your whole house. It is about making one or two intentional choices that shift the vibe. And speaking of vibes, let's talk about how this all connects to you on a deeper level. Your space isn't just a backdrop, it's a mirror. The images and objects you choose reflect what's going on inside you, but they also shape what's going on inside you. It's a two-way street. If you're feeling stuck or heavy, your space might be amplifying that. But the flip side is also true. By changing your space, you can start to change how you feel. It's like a little nudge to your spirit saying, hey, let's move toward something brighter. And the best part, you don't have to do it all at once. Start small. Pick one corner of a room, one wall, one shelf, and make it a reflection of the energy you want to feel. This idea of curating your space isn't about perfection. It's about intention. You're not trying to create a Pinterest-worthy home. You're creating a space that feels like a partner in your journey, not a weight holding you back. And as we keep going, we're going to explore some super practical ways to do this. Ways that don't require a big budget or a ton of time, but that can make a massive difference in how your space feels, and more importantly, how you feel. Because when you start to shift the energy around you, something amazing happens. You start to shift the energy within you too. Alright, so we've been talking about how the images in your space, like those pictures of sad or lonely people, can quietly pull your energy into a heavier place. It's like having a guest in your home who's always sighing in the corner, but here's where things get exciting. You have the power to change that guest list. You can choose who or what gets to hang out in your space and influence your vibe. Let's dive into some practical ways to do that, ways that feel natural and doable, no matter how busy your life is. Because this isn't about overhauling everything. It's about making small, intentional shifts that ripple out and lift your spirit. Imagine you're walking into your bedroom after a long day. You're tired, maybe a little stressed, and the first thing you see is a painting of a shadowy figure sitting alone. It's artsy, sure, but it's like the room is whispering, hey, let's dwell on the heavy stuff. Now picture this instead. You walk in, and there's a bright photo of you and your best friend laughing at a picnic, or maybe a simple sketch of a tree with its branches reaching up toward the sky. Suddenly, the room feels like it's giving you a high five. That's the kind of shift we're aiming for. Something that feels like a deep breath, like a moment of possibility. In a lot of spiritual traditions, especially in Eastern philosophies like Buddhism, there's this idea of clearing the path. It's about removing obstacles that block your inner peace and making room for what nourishes you. Think of your home as a path for your energy. A picture of sadness or loneliness is like a rock in the middle of that path. It trips you up, even if you don't notice it right away. So, one of the first things you can do is identify those rocks. You don't need to get rid of every serious or emotional piece of art. But if something feels like it's pulling you down every time you look at it, it might be time to let it go, at least for a while. Here's a story to bring this home. A woman I know, Sarah, had this old photo on her living room wall, a black and white shot of a man walking alone down a foggy street. She'd had it for years, mostly because it matched her decor. But she started noticing that every time she sat on her couch, she'd feel this weird sense of unease, like she was stuck in a loop of overthinking. One day, she decided to experiment. She took the photo down and put up a colorful tapestry she'd picked up on a trip to a local market. It was nothing fancy, just vibrant swirls of red and gold. The first time she sat down after making the switch, she felt like the room was breathing with her. She didn't realize how much that lonely photo had been setting the tone until it was gone. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but how do I know what to replace these things with? Great question. The key is to choose images that feel like they're rooting for you. In many spiritual practices, symbols of growth, connection, and light are seen as powerful ways to lift the energy in a space. For example, in Tibetan Buddhism, they use images of lotuses or mandalas to represent transformation and balance. You don't have to go full on with sacred symbols, but you can borrow the idea. Maybe it's a photo of a blooming flower, a sunrise, or even a picture of your family smiling together. These kinds of images carry stories of hope and connection, and they act like little cheerleaders for your soul. Here is a practical tip you can try today. Pick one spot in your home where you spend a lot of time. Maybe it's the corner of your desk or the wall above your bed. Find one image that feels heavy or sad and swap it out for something that sparks a little joy. If you don't have anything on hand, you can even make something yourself. Grab a piece of paper and draw a simple sun, a tree, or even just a word that inspires you, like peace or love. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to feel like you. In spiritual practices, creating something with your own hands is seen as a way to infuse your intention into your space. It's like saying, this is the energy I'm choosing to surround myself with. And let's talk about intention for a second, because it's a big deal. In Buddhism, they say that your intention is like the seed of your actions. It shapes what grows in your life. When you choose an image or object for your space, ask yourself, what's my intention here? What do I want this to bring into my life? Maybe you want more calm, so you pick a photo of a quiet lake. Maybe you want more energy, so you choose a bright, colorful painting. The act of choosing with intention is like planting a seed for the kind of life you want to live. It's not about being perfect. It's about being mindful. Another thing to consider is how your space feels as a whole. You don't have to focus only on pictures. Think about the overall vibe of a room. Is it cluttered with stuff that feels heavy or outdated? In Feng Shui, clutter is seen as stagnant energy, like a river that's stopped flowing. You don't need to go full Marie Kondo, but try clearing out one small area, a shelf, a corner, and see how it feels. Then add something that lifts the energy, like a plant or a candle. These little touches can make your space feel like it's working with you, not against you. And here's a fun idea. Think about bringing in images that tell a story of where you want to go, not just where you've been. Maybe you've got a dream of traveling somewhere tropical. Put up a picture of a beach with palm trees. Or maybe you want to feel more connected to your friends. Frame a photo from a time when you were all laughing together. These images aren't just decorations, they're like vision boards for your soul, reminding you of what's possible. In spiritual terms, this is like aligning your outer world with your inner dreams, creating a space that supports your growth. As we keep going, we are going to get even more practical, because this isn't just about swapping out a few pictures. It's about creating a space that feels like a partner in your journey, a place that helps you show up as your best self. And the best part, you don't need a ton of money or time to make it happen. It's about small intentional choices that add up to a big shift. So let us keep exploring how you can transform your space into a sanctuary that lifts you up every single day. Now that we are getting the hang of how images and objects in our space can shape our energy, let us zoom in on something a little deeper. How these choices connect to your inner world. It's like your home is having a conversation with you all the time, and the images you keep around are part of that dialogue. When you've got pictures of sad or lonely figures on your walls, it's like your space is whispering, "Stay in this heavy place." But when you choose images that spark joy or hope, it's like your space is saying, "Hey, let's dream bigger." Let's explore how to make that conversation a positive one, with some easy real-life ways to shift the vibe in your home. Think about a time you walked into someone's house and instantly felt good. Maybe it was the way the light came through the windows, or maybe it was a bright painting that caught your eye. There's something about a space that feels alive, like it's cheering you on. I remember visiting a friend's apartment once, and she had this one wall covered in photos from her travels, colorful markets, sunny beaches, her smiling with strangers who became friends. Every time I walked in, I felt like I was stepping into a story of adventure and connection. That's the kind of energy we're aiming for, not perfection, but a space that feels like it's on your side. In spiritual traditions, especially in practices like Buddhism, there's this idea of sacred space. It doesn't mean you need to turn your living room into a temple, but it's about creating an environment that supports your peace and growth. A picture of a lonely person might be beautiful in a gallery, but when it's in your home, it's part of your daily life. It's like choosing to listen to a sad song on repeat. It might hit you emotionally, but over time, it can pull you into a heavier headspace. Instead, think about what kind of energy you want to invite in. Maybe it's calm, maybe it's joy, maybe it's inspiration. Whatever it is, you can choose images that align with that. Here's a real example. My cousin Lisa used to have this old painting in her hallway, a dark, moody scene of a woman crying. She'd walk past it every day without thinking much about it. But when she started feeling stuck, like her life wasn't moving forward, she decided to shake things up. She replaced that painting with a bright, abstract piece she found at a thrift store, swirls of blue and yellow that reminded her of the ocean. She told me it was like the hallway started breathing. She didn't just feel better in that space, she started feeling more hopeful about her life. It was a small change, but it was like flipping a switch in her energy. So how do you start making these kinds of changes? One way is to get curious about the stories your images are telling. Walk around your home and look at what's on your walls, your shelves, even your screensaver. Ask yourself, what's this image saying to me? Does it feel like it's lifting me up or pulling me down? If it's the latter, it might be time to swap it out. You don't need to spend a fortune. You could print a photo from your phone. Maybe a moment when you felt truly happy, or even draw something yourself. In many Eastern traditions, creating art with intention is seen as a way to channel positive energy. It's like telling the universe, this is what I want more of. Another idea is to bring in symbols that resonate with you. In Buddhism, for example, images of a lotus flower are powerful because they represent rising above challenges, blooming even in muddy waters. You don't have to go full-on spiritual, but maybe a picture of a flower or a tree feels like a reminder of your own resilience. Or maybe you're drawn to images of community, people laughing, celebrating, or working together. These kinds of images can act like anchors, grounding you in the energy you want to cultivate. It's like setting the stage for the kind of life you want to live. And let's not forget about the power of simplicity. Sometimes, less is more. If your space feels cluttered with images or objects that don't spark joy, try clearing out a small area. In Feng Shui, open space is seen as a way to let energy flow freely, like a river moving without obstacles. You don't have to get rid of everything. Just pick one spot like a shelf or a corner and clear it out. Then add one thing that feels meaningful, like a photo of a place you love or a small piece of art that makes you smile. It's like giving your space room to breathe. which helps you breathe easier too. Here's a quick tip you can try right now. Pick one image in your home that feels heavy or sad and move it somewhere less prominent, like a closet or a guest room. Then replace it with something that feels light and uplifting. If you don't have anything on hand, try something super simple like taping up a piece of paper with a word that inspires you. Maybe hope or grow. It's not about being fancy, it's about being intentional. In spiritual terms, this is like making a small offering to your own well-being, a way of saying, I'm choosing to surround myself with light. And speaking of light, let's talk about how this all ties into your daily life. The images you choose are not just about aesthetics. They're about how you want to feel when you start your day, when you come home, when you're winding down. They're like little reminders of who you are and who you're becoming. By making these small shifts, you're not just changing your space, you're changing the way you move through the world. And as we keep going, we're going to dive into some more ways to make your home a sanctuary, a place that supports your dreams and helps you shake off the heaviness of the world. So, we've been exploring how the images in your space, like those heavy, sad, or lonely figures, can quietly shape the way you feel, almost like an uninvited guest bringing the mood down. Now let us shift gears and talk about how you can turn your home into a place that feels like a warm embrace, a space that lifts you up and reminds you of your own strength and joy. This isn't about chasing perfection or spending a ton of money. It is about making your environment a partner in your journey, one small intentional step at a time. Imagine this. You are having one of those days where everything feels like it's piling up. Work, stress, maybe a fight with a friend. You walk into your home, and instead of feeling weighed down by a dark painting or a photo tied to a tough memory, you're greeted by something that sparks a little light. Maybe it is a picture of a sunset you saw on a trip that made you feel free, or a silly doodle your niece drew that always makes you laugh. That moment, that tiny shift, can be like a reset button for your soul. It's not about ignoring life's challenges. It's about creating a space that helps you face them with a clearer, stronger heart. In spiritual traditions, especially in practices like Buddhism, there's this beautiful concept of right view, seeing things clearly, without being clouded by negativity or attachment. The images you keep in your space can either cloud your view or help you see the world with more hope and possibility. A picture of a lonely person might be a stunning piece of art, but if it's the backdrop to your daily life, it's like a filter that tints everything a little grey. On the other hand, an image of something vibrant, like a field of wildflowers or a group of people celebrating, can act like a window, opening you up to brighter possibilities. Let me tell you about someone I met, a guy named Tom, who learned this the hard way. He had this old poster in his office of a man sitting alone on a park bench, head in his hands. It was one of those deep pieces he'd picked up in college because it felt profound. But years later, he realized he was dreading going into his office. He felt drained every time he sat at his desk. On a whim, he took the poster down and put up a photo from a hiking trip with his buddies, nothing fancy, just them grinning at the top of a mountain. The change was almost instant. He said it was like the room started rooting for him. His work felt less like a grind, and he even started getting more done. It wasn't just the photo, it was the energy it brought, like a reminder of what he was capable of. So how do you start bringing that kind of energy into your own space? One way is to think about the emotions you want to feel more of. Maybe you want to feel calm, so you choose an image of a serene lake or a cozy candlelit scene. Maybe you want to feel energized, so you pick something bold and colorful, like a painting of a bustling market. In many Eastern traditions, they talk about raising the vibration of a space, basically filling it with energy that feels alive and uplifting. You don't need to get all mystical about it, just ask yourself, what do I want to feel when I'm in this room? Then find or create an image that matches that feeling. Here's a super simple thing you can do today. Pick one spot in your home that feels a little off. Maybe it's a corner of your living room or the wall by your bed. Take a look at what's there. Is there an image that feels heavy, like it's carrying a story of sadness or struggle? If so, swap it out for something that feels like a breath of fresh air. You don't need to buy anything new. Maybe it's a photo from a happy memory, like a day at the beach, or a moment with someone you love. Or if you're feeling creative, grab a pen and paper and sketch something that makes you smile. A sun, a heart, even just a word like joy. In spiritual practices, creating something with your own hands is seen as a way to pour your intention into your space, like planting a seed for the energy you want to grow. Another idea is to bring in elements that feel personal to you. In Buddhism, they often use images or objects that connect to your own journey, like a stone from a place you felt at peace, or a drawing that represents a dream you're chasing. This doesn't have to be complicated. Maybe you have a postcard from a trip that made you feel alive, or a photo of a moment when you felt unstoppable. Put that up somewhere you'll see it every day. It's like giving yourself a little nudge, a reminder of who you are when you're at your best. And let's talk about balance for a second. Your space doesn't have to be all sunshine and rainbows. Life isn't like that, and your home can reflect the full range of who you are. But there's a difference between honoring your depth and surrounding yourself with images that keep you stuck in a heavy place. If you love a moody piece of art, maybe keep it in a space where you don't spend every day, like a hallway or a guest room. That way you can still appreciate it without letting it set the tone for your whole life. It's about creating a balance that feels supportive, like a friend who lifts you up when you need it most. As we keep going, we're going to get even more practical, with ideas you can use to make your space feel like a sanctuary, a place that not only reflects who you are, but also helps you become who you want to be. Because when you start making these small changes, you're not just rearranging your home, you're rewriting the story of how you feel day in and day out. And that's where the real magic happens. We're getting closer to wrapping this up, but before we do, let us dive into something that ties all of this together. The idea that your space is a living, breathing part of your journey. Those pictures of sad or lonely people on your walls, they are not just decorations. They read like notes in a song that's playing in the background of your life. If those notes are heavy, they can pull your whole melody into a minor key. But when you choose images that spark joy, hope, or peace, it's like switching to a tune that makes you want to dance. Let's talk about how to make your space sing in a way that lifts you up, with some practical steps you can start today. Picture this. You're starting your morning, maybe a little groggy, and you glance at a photo on your nightstand. It's an old one, from a time when things felt tough, maybe a family gathering where everyone looks strained. It's not a bad photo, but every time you see it, it's like a tiny anchor pulling you back to that moment. Now imagine swapping it out for a picture of you and your best friend cracking up over something silly, or even just a bright postcard of a place you've always wanted to visit. That one change can be like a sip of coffee for your soul, waking you up to a day full of possibility. In spiritual practices, especially in traditions like Buddhism, there's this idea of impermanence. Everything changes, and we get to choose how we flow with that change. The images in your space are part of that flow. Keeping a picture that holds onto sadness or loneliness can feel like clinging to a moment that's already passed. But when you choose images that reflect where you're going, not just where you've been, it's like opening a door to new possibilities. It's not about erasing your past, it's about making space for your future. Let me share a quick story. A friend of mine, Emma, had this painting in her dining room, a stark grey image of a woman sitting alone at a table. She loved how deep it felt when she bought it. But over time, she noticed that meals at that table felt heavy, like the vibe was off. One day, she decided to try something new. She took the painting down and put up a collage of photos from her favorite moments. Her dog playing in the park, her mum laughing at a family barbecue, a sunset she'd seen on a road trip. Suddenly dinners felt warmer, like the room was part of the conversation. She didn't realize how much that one painting had been setting the tone until she let it go. So, how do you make this kind of shift in your own space? Start by thinking about the energy you want to feel when you're at home. Maybe you want more calm, more connection, or just a little more lightness. Then, look for images that match that energy. In many Eastern traditions, images of nature are seen as powerful ways to bring balance and peace. A photo of a forest, a river, or even a single flower can feel like a reminder that life is always growing, always moving forward. You don't need to go out and buy expensive art. Maybe it's a picture you took on your phone during a walk, or something you find online and print out for a few bucks. Here's a fun, hands-on idea. try creating something yourself. In spiritual practices, making art with intention is seen as a way to connect with your inner self. You don't have to be Picasso. Grab a piece of paper and draw something that feels good. Maybe a sun, a tree, or even just a swirl of colors that makes you happy. Stick it on your fridge or tape it to your wall. It's like sending a little love note to yourself saying, "I'm choosing joy today." And in traditions like Buddhism, that act of creation is a form of mindfulness, a way to anchor yourself in the present moment. Another thing to think about is how your space feels as a whole. It's not just about one picture, it's about the overall vibe. In Feng Shui, they talk about qi as the life force that flows through your home. Images of sadness or loneliness can block that flow, like a dam in a river. But when you clear out those heavy images and replace them with ones that feel alive, it's like letting the river run free again. You don't have to redo your whole house. Just pick one spot, a corner, a shelf, a wall, and make it a reflection of the energy you want to feel. Maybe add a small plant, a candle, or a photo that makes you smile. It's like giving your space a little hug. And here's something to keep in mind. This isn't about being perfect. You don't need a flawless magazine-worthy home. You just need a space that feels like you, the you that's growing, dreaming, and finding your way. If you love a piece of art that's a little moody, that's okay. Maybe it lives in a space where you don't spend every day, like a hallway or a storage box you pull out when you're in the mood to reflect. The goal is to create a balance where the energy in your home supports you, not drags you down. As we head toward the end of this conversation, we were going to pull all these ideas together and talk about how to make your space a true sanctuary, a place that not only reflects who you are, but also helps you step into who you re-becoming. Because when you start making these small intentional changes, you're not just decorating, you're creating a space that holds you up, that reminds you of your own light even on the toughest days. Here we are, at the final stretch of this conversation, and I hope you're feeling as excited as I am about the possibilities for your space. We've been talking about how the images you keep around, like those pictures of sad or lonely people, can subtly shape your energy, sometimes pulling you into a heavier place than you deserve. But now, let's bring it all together and focus on how you can make your home a sanctuary, a place that feels like it's cheering you on every single day. This isn't about making everything perfect. It's about creating a space that helps you shine, even when life gets messy. Imagine walking into your home after a long day. You're tired, maybe a little overwhelmed, but the moment you step inside, something feels different. There's a photo on your wall of a moment when you felt truly alive. Maybe laughing with friends or standing in awe of a sunset. Or maybe there's a simple drawing you made, something that captures a dream you're chasing. That one image, that one choice can be like a warm hug from your space, reminding you that you're stronger than you feel right now. That's the power of curating your environment with intention. In spiritual traditions like Buddhism, they talk about mindful living, paying attention to the little choices that shape your world. The images you keep in your home are part of that. A picture of a lonely figure might be beautiful in a museum, but when it's in your living room, it's like inviting a guest who's always whispering about sadness. Instead, choose images that tell a story of growth, connection, or joy. It's like rewriting the script of your daily life, choosing a narrative that lifts you up instead of holding you back. Let me share one last story. A woman I know, Maria, had this old photo in her kitchen, a black and white shot of a man sitting alone on a dock staring out at the water. She'd had it forever, mostly because it matched her decor. But she started noticing that every time she cooked, she felt this weird sense of melancholy, like she was stuck in her head. One day she decided to shake things up. She took down the photo and put up a bright, colorful painting of a fruit market she'd found at a flea market. It wasn't expensive, but it was vibrant, full of life. Suddenly, cooking felt like a joy again, like she was part of something bigger. That one change didn't fix her life, but it gave her a little boost every day, a reminder to stay connected to the things that make her heart sing. So, here's where you come in. If any of this resonates with you, try this. Pick one spot in your home that could use a little love. Maybe it is a wall with a heavy image or a shelf with a photo tied to a tough memory. Take that image down, just for now, and replace it with something that feels like a spark. Maybe a picture of a happy moment, a place you love, or even something you create yourself. You don't need to be an artist. Grab a piece of paper, write a word that inspires you, like hope or freedom, and stick it up. In spiritual terms, this is like making a small offering to your own well-being, a way of saying, I'm choosing light today. And don't feel like you have to do it all at once. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. In Buddhism, they talk about the middle path, finding balance without forcing things to be extreme. You don't need a flawless, Instagram-worthy home. You just need a space that feels like it's on your team. Maybe you start with one room, one corner, one tiny change. Over time, those little shifts add up, like ripples in a pond, creating a space that feels more and more like you. If something in this video clicked for you, I'd love to hear about it. Drop a comment below and tell me, what is one image in your space that is lifting you up, or one you're thinking about changing? I read every comment, and it means the world to know what's resonating with you. And if you're loving this kind of content, hit that subscribe button and give the video a like. It helps keep these conversations going. Before we wrap up, let's make a deal. If you've made it this far, comment "I'm in this," so I know you're with me. And take one small step today, swap out one image, add one thing that makes you smile, and see how it feels. Because here is the truth. You don't need big changes to live a brighter life. Sometimes it's the smallest choices that light the way forward. You deserve a space that reminds you of your own strength, your own joy every single day. Keep shining, and I'll see you in the next one.